welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to talk about today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had a good time playing Sea of Thieves this last week. I know I have. I've been trying to stream as much of it as possible, but I'll be honest, I've been having some major issues, and I've got a pretty good system, so I'm having trouble with that and trying to get some advice from other people, but I want to get into that a little bit later on because I'm hoping it's nothing major. First up on today's docket, I'd like to talk a little bit about how the servers were going. So far, it's been about a week, and I gotta say I'm really impressed with the team over at Rare. They have taken a game that was nigh impossible to log in on launch night to a point where I don't even consider whether or not I'm going to be logging on during peak times. As it stands, I can jump into the game, out of the game, jump back into the game, and not have any problems whatsoever. I've run into a couple matchmaking issues with some of the beard errors that we've been getting, so still a couple tweaks here and there, but the fact that I can log in when I want and not have to get queued up or worried about whether or not I'm going to get to play the game is a big win for Rare. They've really made sure that they've dedicated a lot of people and a lot of time to making sure that the game is accessible to all the million concurrent players playing this first week. It's a great feat, and I want to thank them very much for working that hard. On that note, we've also seen that there haven't been many issues as far as achievements they're still having some trouble with achievements, but they've been able to get people's gold and people's reputation to you at a fairly good rate. I'm actually not running into that many issues with it unless you're turning in a lot of stuff at one time, multiple loads, then you're really going to be able to get your gold and reputation right away, which allows you to buy those upgrades to get better quests and stuff. Alright, so I talked a little bit about this just a second ago, but I want to talk to you a little bit about my pain as going through as a streamer. Now, just to kind of give you an idea of my situation, and I'm hoping some genius out there can help me work it out, but I have had the hardest time getting this game to stream properly, and I generally stream about 3 to 4 nights a week, only for a few hours at a time. So when I do stream, it's very precious that I have a good stream, that it's actually viewable, and that people are able to experience the same thing that I want to experience. But as it stands, my system is actually having a lot of problems getting this game going, and I'm having trouble understanding where I'm having problems. So I'm typically running an i7. It's not overclocked. I've got an NVIDIA 1080. I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm running the system at 4K 30 seconds per 30 FPS when I'm not streaming. But when I stream, I have to knock this thing down to 720 played and 720 output, and then I still get a little bit of lag here and there. And I don't know if it's because of my upload speeds or if it's part of the client not being optimized, but I'm watching a few other people not have this trouble, and the only thing I can break it down to is upload speed, because the system seems to be able to handle the game just fine when I'm not streaming. So I don't know if it's something on OBS's side. I've had the same problem with Streamlabs OBS, so if anyone has any advice, I am more than willing to take it. You can always hit me up. Feel free to let me know. You can hit me up at Twitter at CaptainLogun _Logun. That's CAPT_LOGUN. If you want to message me through the Xbox app, you're welcome to do that. My name is Captain, all one word, Logun, Logun. That's no spaces there. Feel free to let me know, man. I'm willing to try just about anything, but the best I can get is 720p at 30 frames per second with this game. And this wasn't a problem in the beta. At the beta, I was running 1080p, 60 frames per second. Not a problem. It was great. And something happened last Wednesday that just really killed my streaming groove, and I'm really bummed about that. Alright, so third thing on today's docket, I'd like to talk about the patch that should be coming either the day you're listening to this or Tuesday. So this is Tuesday the 27th. We should be getting a new client update for this, and there's going to be some main issues that are going to be addressed. player rewards being delayed. Their advice for that: don't quit and restart. Try to resolve the issue during peak times. If you continue playing, the rewards should flow through eventually because their messaging system is all queued up. And if you quit, then your messaging for the rep and for the gold is going to be reset back to the end of the line. So hang in there, go sail around, try and take someone else out, and eventually you will get that gold and the reputation. But like I mentioned before, I've been getting this stuff fairly quickly, almost instantly when I turn stuff in. So I don't know if that's necessarily a big issue or not. The next thing that they were going to be patching or focusing on patching are the achievements being delayed. And I've actually had a few problems with this as well too. Like, I've done a couple things that I know should be giving me achievements, but for whatever reason they just aren't hitting. So the status of that is that the plan is in place, hoping to deliver delayed achievements and turn achievements back on by the end of this week. So players having difficulty getting into game out. Sorry, this was the next bit. Players getting difficult into the game at peak times. So the status of this is, broadly, we feel we're on top of this now. We've made series of fixes and tweaks in our services, and our join and play rates are now manageable. If we start to see unexpected behavior, such as a high influx of new or returning players, there might be cases where we need to temporarily halt incoming players to maintain the quality of experience for players already in and playing. If we need to do this, we will message out on our social media channels, but we hope to avoid it. And that's something I can definitely attest to. It's been a lot easier. I don't know if people stopped playing after they tried it for the first and realized how hard it was to get in, or if this is something that they've just been able to manage the expectations so I'm glad to hear about. The advice they give for that is, if you're experiencing this, try matchmaking into a crew that is already out on an adventure, as you will join an in-progress session rather than going through the server matchmaking flow. Also, we did find out that they aren't going to be doing the death cost. There was a tweet today that let us know, thanks to Mr. Joe Neat. All right, so the fourth item on the docket's a quick one. Just want to let you guys know there is a Sea of Thieves verified Discord. The link is going to be in the show notes, but if you want to know, it's just discord.gg/Sea of Thieves. I've already joined it. They've got tons of channels in there for casual chatters, for people looking to find out mysteries, to getting a group, whether or not you're focusing on a certain reputation, or maybe you just want to have a 2-man or a 4-man group. So it's really great to see that they are utilizing one of the top voice over IP programs to get people together, to bring the community and give them a verified HUD or hub so that you can actually get opportunity to meet other players. And I actually did this. I actually met a gentleman named Captain Heck in game, and he started telling me about his community of streamers, and I ended up joining into their Discords and meeting a lot of other people. And I'm really happy to say that the Sea of Thieves Discord is a great place to meet other content creators, other streamers, other players, other people that just love this game and want to support each other and help each other on today's docket. It's time for another Fort Stories. And I want to talk a little bit about the forts because I've learned a lot over this last week about how to approach them. And I gave some tips on my last episode as far as what you can do to kind of tackle them a little bit better. But I've learned a lot. And I gotta say, there are definitely a few things that you can do to take on a skeleton fort and come out on the better side of it. So first off, when you get to the skeleton fort, if you're already working on it, great job. You're already doing a great job to kind of work towards getting to that skeleton captain. When you get to that skeleton captain, just kill the captain. Everyone, all the other skeletons in that wave will actually disappear. Now, I know that's hard because they generally come out in a big group and it's hard to kind of focus them all down, but I promise you, as soon as you kill that captain, all the other ones will despawn and that key is yours. So, I spent 3 hours yesterday trying to take one skeleton fort on stream. It had just appeared, and as we made our way out, we eventually realized that we weren't the only ship looking to take this prize. We were one of 4. There were 3 galleons and a sloop. We were also the second to last to arrive. The first galleon and sloop fought it out, and my ship and the galleon sailing behind us had to battle it out. Now, at the first galleon started working on the fort, and we went by and we actually sailed by them and lobbied probably a full 30 shots at the ship before almost crashing into the second galleon that had just adjusted course. They came around the other side of the fort to try and ram us, try and cut us off. It was kind of crazy. So we sailed around and we ended up actually docking at a nearby outpost while we took some time to refit. So the second galleon, while we're actually at this outpost gathering supplies, actually parks outside of the fort's range of their cannons in between a bunch of rocks, and they just kind of sit there waiting to find out what happens to this first galleon that actually showed up at the fort. So we probably spent about 5 to 10 minutes trying to decide what to do. This is pretty, we basically decided that we had to force the engagement. So after we had gone and we had pulled everything off of the outpost out of all the barrels and refitted as much as we possibly can, we decided that our best solution was to force the hand of the second galleon, the one that was behind us when we first got to the fort. So we went and we attacked the galleon that was docked at the fort, battling the skeleton waves, because we figured they would be the most defenseless and the easiest to take out, and we didn't want to give them an opportunity to get further in the fort to the point where we couldn't get the key. So we sailed out and actually took out the first galleon, the one that was working on the fort. And as we did this, we noticed that the second galleon, the one that was hiding in the rocks, did nothing. We expected them to come out and try and fight us, but they actually stayed there. And we were kind of wondering, should we try and take the fort or should we try and take out the opposition? And we ended up deciding that we were going to take out the opposition. So we sailed around the fort and we decided to come around the backside of the rocks. And it was kind of hard because the rocks are big and you can navigate between them, but it's hard to get a good shot off. So we ended up coming up behind them and coming up on their starboard side to our port. And we ended up lobbying a bunch of shots into them. We dropped anchor and they actually tried to get aboard our ship, but we ended up killing them. So at this point, we've actually killed 2 galleons, and the first galleon, the one that was working on the fort, is starting to sail back towards the fort. And the second galleon is actually done. It's sinking, and we're finishing off the final crewmates, knowing that they're going to respawn sooner as well too. So we start to park over at the fort, and we have a few guys go off and actually onto the fort to try and take out some of the skeleton waves. Meanwhile, one of us starts patching the holes in our ship that we took during the last fights, and one of us, myself actually, goes up to the crow's nest to start keeping an eye on the other galleons that we know are eventually coming. So once the other galleons started coming, I let the guys know, hey, they're coming. If they come and it's about to go, we just gotta leave. We can't stick around. We can't try and kill the last skeleton. We just leave. We disengage from the fort and we take on the opposition of the 2 galleons as well too. So we ended up, they eventually came and we started to fight both of the galleons, and we ended up killing both of the galleons. And I think this cycle happened about twice before one of the galleons eventually just gave up. And the second galleon, the one that was behind us the whole time, sleeping in the rocks, just lying in wait, they stuck it out. They fought us, and we sank them at least another 2 to 3 more times. And eventually, at one point, we finally got enough time on this fort that we could kill all the waves except for one. And we decided at that point we had exhausted all of our supplies. We had over 100 cannonballs. We had over 75 planks. We had over 75 bananas. We used all of that, taking out these galleons multiple times, and they kept coming with fresh ships with a full load of 50 cannons and a full load of 20 or 50 cannonballs, and then a full load of just supplies. And it was a real strain to try and get these guys to just leave us alone. And eventually we decided that the best opportunity for us was to sail back to the outpost and scuttle our ship and come back with a fresh one. So we scuttle our ship, and then we get back to the new one, and we look at how far we are, and we realize we're not actually that far. So we decided that we were going to actually sail back to the fort and try and take on the galleon. Well, just as we're getting up to the galleon, the skull cloud disappears. And we realized this, and we realized that they probably actually killed the Skull Captain, or the captain from the fort. And we end up sinking their ship handily. We destroyed their ship. And two of the guys were actually trying to get onto our ship. They ended up getting on there, but we managed to actually kill them. Oh, I have to say, kudos to our crew, because during the time when the other ship was waiting in the rocks as we were trying to battle some of the forces, like, they came and they hung out. They didn't actually engage. But what they did is they sent their crew members over with gunpowder kegs, and they tried to sink our ship. I don't even know how they got all of these gunpowder kegs, but they dropped 5 gunpowder kegs at the aft, or at the stern and at the bow of our ship. We probably burned through a lot of our planks trying to actually save our ship, and we ended up saving our ship and deciding to scuttle it. But okay, skip back to where we were. We had just finished sinking the galleon, the second galleon. The other one bugged off. We killed the second galleon just after they had finished killing the skeleton, the captain. And we knew that they had to be somewhere on that island. So the 3 of the guys, myself included, jumped on the island, and we scoured that island until we eventually found the guys that were sitting on the island somewhere holding that key. And we eventually found them, and we killed them, and we opened up the vault, and we started to unload it. But we knew it had been so much time between when we first killed the 2 guys, sank their ship, and then killed the other 2 guys on the island, that their other ship was probably close to getting back to us. So I ran back after we opened up the vault with one of the stronghold chests, and I go up to the crow's nest, and I look out, and sure enough, I see them out on the horizon, and they're probably half a minute to a minute away from coming up on us. So I raise the sails, I raise the anchor, and I let the guys know, hey, start carting out as much of the stuff as you can and leave it on the actual shore, and then we can try and grab as much as we can and then dump it on the boat and then just get out of here. So we take out most of the high-priced items. We left some of the seafarers and some of the smaller skeleton or skulls, and then a couple of the little trinkets and stuff in the fort. We didn't have time to do that, but we managed to get a majority of the good stuff off of it. We go, and they're right on top of us, by the way. Just as we get the last thing off of the shore and leave the rest in the fort, we have them get on. I was the last one on, by the way, and we drop sails and go, and they're right on us. They could practically ram us at this point, but they were heading straight on, and they couldn't get a good fire on us, so we were safe in that instance. And we decided to actually take our ship, and we're going to start doing the drop and runs. You know, we're going to drop a couple guys off, let them go turn in stuff, and then have them jump on the mermaid, get back on our ship as we head to another outpost. And this works fabulously until we get to the second outpost. At this point, they were still on us. They were still chasing us. They had actually gotten a couple shots off because we had to turn at one point, and we managed to kind of evade them at one point, and that was amazing. So we get a couple guys off on the first outpost. They drop off some chests, and then we actually get to the next outpost, and we decide, because we have so much time between when we messed them up and they stopped at the last outpost to try and kill our guys, where they figured we probably dropped off the highest price items, which we actually did. We dropped one guy off with the stronghold chest, and he got it in. Everyone else stayed on the ship, and we just went to the next outpost. They stopped, we let them stop, and then we had a bigger time between when we were going to leave that island and when we were going to get to the next outpost. So we get to the next outpost, and at this point we were pretty rushed. We didn't have an opportunity to really repair all the holes. So 3 guys jump off on the outpost. I run aground. I'm at the helm. I run aground, and I freak out. I'm thinking, okay, I need to go get the holes. We'll just keep sailing. They'll get back. No. I run down underneath of there. There's 4 holes that have been caused by running aground, and out of nowhere, the water starts pouring in. I can't plank up the holes fast enough, and the mid deck had so many holes in from the battle that weren't filled, weren't planked up, that the ship literally sank in like 5 seconds, and all of our treasure was just sitting there in the ocean. So I start grabbing Skull, and I start swimming towards the shore, and I tell the guys, I'm like, guys, I don't know how to explain this, but the ship's gone, and you need to swim out, and we need to get the loot off of the ocean and turn it in. And they're like, oh God, all right. So they're swimming out, and then sharks come, and the sharks are probably the most dangerous thing in this game next to snakes. I'm just going to lay this out right now. It's sharks, snakes, sharks, storm, snakes, people, yourself, and then the Kraken. And I'll get into why the Kraken's last as far as danger goes in a second. But yeah, we managed to get a majority of it, but we all die. We all get eaten by sharks. So we have to respawn on another island and sail back to that outpost and try and sail over into the ocean. And sure enough, all of the loot that we had in the ocean was still there. There was one thing that I had grabbed, that I had touched, that had actually glitched out. Everything else was still kind of sitting there in the ocean. So we actually managed to grab all of it, hop back on the boat, move the boat slightly over back to the outpost and get it all turned in. But we still missed at least a good third of the fort. We never saw the other ship. We never saw them again. And at that point, so much had happened after this 3-hour session of killing them, trying to take the fort, running away with the loot, that we were just so tired. We were done. So we dropped out of that instance, and then we regrouped. We got a couple people that we know in it, because we had a couple random people that we didn't know while we were sailing doing this, and they stuck with us through the whole thing. But we left that server and we joined a new one, and then we went and took another fort, and it was so much easier. So my advice after all of this is, if you come to a skeleton fort and you're contesting it, or you are having to defend it, if they keep coming back until the game decides that they will start putting people farther away, leave that fort. Don't waste your time. You can get so much more gold doing other things in the game, unless you are so dedicated to actually getting this fort that you want to make sure that you can take it and you're not worried about it, and you're willing to take on that risk of having to fight for hours as people respawn and bring fresh boats and fresh supplies. It was painful. We didn't get a whole lot of loot out of it. Maybe about $6,000 out of the 10 to 15 that we would normally get. But I have to say, that was probably the best crew I've ever sailed with, and I couldn't have been happier to spend that 3 hours with them during this learning experience. So now that I know that if we come contested to a skeleton fort, we should probably either give it up and join a new instance and try and get that, I want to talk a little bit about two things. One, people grinding skeleton forts, and two, ship respawn distances. So people grinding skeleton forts, if you're not aware of this, is a very popular thing amongst most streamers, especially ones trying to get to Pirate Legend, or people that aren't streaming but just have been doing this anyway. And then what they've been doing is they've been going out, getting a group of 4 in a galleon, and they look for a skeleton fort right when you spawn on an outpost. If you don't see that skeleton fort, you quit the game and you restart it until you get another instance that has a skeleton fort. Then you grab a couple loads of supplies, jump on the ship, and get out to the fort and try and take it as quickly as possible. When you get everything off of the fort, you leave, you turn it all in, and then you quit and do this over again. And they've just been doing these chains of skeleton forts all week long, and a lot of them have gotten pretty high in level. Now, some of them will actually hang out and they'll do a couple other quests in the meantime to get some more stuff, but a majority of ones that I've seen have been grinding these skeleton forts, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. I've actually done it myself, and it is a good tool to be able to grind up levels, but it really kills the atmosphere and the design of actually playing the game and doing other stuff in between skeleton forts. Like, skeleton forts are intended to be the thing that you do that's exciting, that brings a lot of PvP versus PvP into the game between the regular going out and sailing portions of it. So I'm still kind of conflicted about that, but it is currently the best way to get gold and reputation in the game. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the ship respawn distance. Now, this is an issue that I have a lot of like emotions towards, because as you just heard, I spent 3 hours fighting over one fort. And yeah, I probably should have quit, but I was streaming and I wanted to have good content, and I wanted to see how far this would play out. And unfortunately, it didn't play out the way I exactly wanted it to, but I did find out that we are the better pirates. So with the ships respawning so close, it is a matter of minutes that you have to be able to do something in that process. And it doesn't matter if you're doing regular quests or if you're doing a skeleton fort. they appear so close to where they died that you only have maybe 5 minutes before they get to sail back to you. So I would really love to see this change happen, where if you die and you sunk someone else's ship, then you have a larger time of window before they can actually get back there. Somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes is okay. I'd really like to see that upped to 7 to 12 minutes. I'd really like to see it take a lot longer, so you have a bigger window of opportunity to be able to capitalize on the fact that you bested that other crew. Whether you did it by powder kegs or sending people over or shooting them with cannonballs or a combination of all three, I feel like you should have a better opportunity to take some of the loot that they had and be able to cash that in without you having to worry. Because if you're farther away, it disincentivizes the other crew to come after you. And you don't get that chain of people constantly trying to come after you with a fresh ship as you're slowly depleting your supplies, battling off these brand new galleons that are coming with a crew. Alright, so the sixth item on today's docket is going to be around Kraken difficulty. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I've seen the Kraken out in the open at least one time. I haven't seen it very often, and I know a lot of other people have seen it quite a few times. But the problem I'm seeing with it is that this Kraken is not nearly as menacing as I was expecting. For one, you only see the tentacles. The actual water gets so murky and you take damage that you can't actually see if there's a body. And I would love that there would be a body, but much like having an anchor line and an actual anchor in the water, those things are not rendered in the game. So I don't know why that is, if it's a technical difficulty or it was a design decision, but they put so much effort into everything else. I feel like it's kind of a cheat that we can't see the actual Kraken body and all we get are the tentacles. Now, on topic of the tentacles I don't think are as dangerous enough. They really kind of hang out and they give you a lot of opportunity to shoot them with guns or to be able to shoot them with cannonballs. So I don't know how these things are tuned, if they're tuned for a 2-man sloop or if they're tuned for a 4-man sloop. But I feel like a galleon can get away fairly easily, either by sailing out of it or shooting the closest tentacles with cannons. And I feel like if you get attacked by a galleon, only the best crews should be able to get out of that. Now, that's not to say that the crews that are fighting these galleons or fighting these Krakens aren't really good crews. I'm just thinking that maybe it's a little too easy for them to be able to get out of the water. I feel like once the water comes and you're stopped, a Kraken tentacle really should wrap around that ship and start picking off people right away. I feel like you shouldn't have such a large window of opportunity to be able to adjust sails or move or start shooting at the Kraken. Like, it should happen fast and it should be scary. And it's already pretty freaky and intimidating to see these giant tentacles lumber up high above your ship's sails as you're trying to sail out of this water. But I've seen too many ships get away from the Kraken, and I feel like maybe it should be a little bit harder. I have more problems, like I said, with sharks, with storms, with snakes. I've died to snakes way more times than I've died to Krakens, and I encounter them way more often. I can't even tell you the number of times I've almost sunk in a storm, just from the amount of damage that you take from the wind as well as the lightning. It's a lot tougher to navigate a storm than it is to deal with a Kraken, and I feel like a storm and a Kraken are not equal, and they should be. I feel like you should be just as worried about going into a storm as it is hitting a Kraken. So that's just kind of my thoughts on the Kraken. I feel like it could be so much more, but the base of it right now is so good that I really enjoy seeing it. I just want it to be more dangerous. So the last thing on today's docket, item number 7, is one that really ticks me off. And I've never thought this would happen. I never thought in a million years that me playing Sea of Thieves would cause this issue. But I have found cheaters in the game of Sea of Thieves, and it pisses me off to no end. I can't believe this. So last night, one of the last things I did is I jumped in a duo crew with Captain Heck, and we decided we were just going to go kind of cap off our Merchant Alliance quest, because I was real close to actually hitting that 20 mark, and he was nice enough to join me to go capture some pigs to be able to do this. So As we're sailing to our destination outpost, we realized that a fresh galleon had just instanced into the sea, and the crew is probably off getting supplies. So we decided to say, screw it. We're awesome pirates. We can take on just about anything, and we're gonna head right into dock. We don't even care what they're doing because we're so confident that we're gonna be able to kill them and take our pigs and turn them into the Merchant Alliance. And we did. We rammed right into the dock. We repaired the one hole that we got. We got the pigs, and we managed to get them turned in without the pigs dying as we were taking cannon fire from the galleon as well as shots. And we managed to board their ship after we turned them in, kill 3 of the crew members to the point where they were on the island trying to snipe us because they didn't want to get so close to us that they knew our blunderbusses were going to take them out, except for one dude, and I'm going to call him out. He was unkillable, an MOB space Pacino. I reported you because I've never had anyone be able to take 3 blunderbuss shots to the face and not die. I've never seen anyone get on an anchor and try and raise our anchor and me lunge at them and then shoot them and only get knocked back. I've never seen anyone take sword hacks to the face while playing an instrument and not die. So I don't know what your game is. I don't know why you feel like this is fun or what you get out of this. But I hate the fact that you cheat, that you hacked the game, that you gave yourself infinite life, or you gave yourself the ability to not be able to die. That pisses me off. I reported you, and I hope that all your little buddies that are out there hacking this game get the same treatment. Because it's not fair. It's not cool. This is a game where it's about skill. You don't get to up your level for your blunderbuss. You don't get power increases or armor. That's not this type of game. This game is an experience of skill. If you're a better pirate, then you get rewarded by killing the other crew and getting that loot. So if you're going to hack this game, I don't want you in this game. I'm going to let everyone know right now, if you see this, grab a screenshot. Record it. Do anything you can to take down that person's name. There's a real quick, easy option in the Xbox app. You can open up their profile by searching their Gamertag. Click more, click report, click cheating, and let the mods handle it because it's not fair to you. It's not fair to the rest of the community that want to play this game the proper way. All right, pirates. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to get a hold of me, there's a couple things I want to know from the community listening. 1, how you heard about me. 2, if you'd be willing to review me or give me a rating at Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate the feedback. And I want to know what your pirate levels are right now. Right now, I feel like I don't have a gauge on how most of the people are as far as a reputation. I feel like everyone's around 20, 25. If you're higher than 25, let me know. I really want to know how your experience is going past level 25 or even level 30. I would love to know how people's quests are during level 30, maybe how you got up to that. So hit me up over at Twitter, CAPT_LOGUN. My email address is CaptainLogun@gmail.com. My gamer tag, CaptainLogun, all one word. You can also join me on Discord too. I have a Discord server called the Keelhauled podcast where a few people have jumped on just to kind of chat about the game and keep up to date with some of the notes going out. So keep your eye on that horizon, and I look forward to sailing with you in the future.